What's going on, everybody? You've got the cardboard coach here with your boy, Coach Co. And team, we've got a very special guest on the podcast here today. We've got Lauren. Lauren Goes here. How are you doing today?
Good. How are you?
I am fantastic. I'm excited to not only get to know you, but have my audience get to know you a little bit more, especially because I've been consuming some of your content ever since we met at the Mint, I believe it was, right? I'm
Great.
not
Yes.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And that was I can't believe it was like probably 8 months ago now,
I
which
know. It
is
feels like a million years ago, and also
kind of
yesterday at the
wild.
same
I
time.
know, I know. I'm also a little bit upset because like the Mint is no longer, and I think that that was an event that if you had the pleasure of attending, I think you realize how invaluable something like that is for other members of the community and in the industry, and just as an
Mhm.
opportunity to kind of get to know people on like a personal level. Like I met so many people at the mint that the mint, not the mint, that I still talk to this day, and people that I recognized before, and really just never had the opportunity to kind of like sit down with, and especially in like a conventional card show setting, you just don't have a ton of time to like
Right. Yeah.
talk and just like hang out. That's kind of what the Mint Collective was all about. And it's kind of a shame that I mean, I wonder if someone's going to take over an event like that moving
Right.
forward. I would hope so, because I and especially like it's in Vegas, it's warm,
Right.
it's an excuse for me to get the hell out of Canada.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
I
The
mean,
Mint's really cool. I really enjoyed it. Like, I
yeah.
mean, like you said, like it gave you the opportunity to like talk to people that like at the national there's so many people
Yeah.
and everybody's moving and like nobody's moving in the same direction like ever. And the Mint, it was like, okay, you can go to the card floor, you can take a break, and you can go to like a panel. You could go to lunch, you could go get, like you
Yeah.
could, like it was more like slow paced in that, like the national you're like, I gotta go there, I gotta be there, I'm gonna go there, I have to go there, so like good to see you, bye. And the
Yeah.
Mint, it was like, like I got to talk to Cage for a while. And I think that was where I finally got to see Christina in person from Card Ladder, because we've
Yeah.
been like, pretty good friends for a while now. So like, yeah, I agree. I mean, I know Fanatics Live, that's on the horizon. Hopefully maybe they'll like take some notes, but I love the Mint. I
Yeah.
really wish that they would keep it up.
Yeah, it's like I said, I think it's left like a gaping hole in this industry that I mean, we you still have like the tops industry conference and stuff like that, but like
Right,
everyday
right,
people
right.
don't really go to those though. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like it's not the same. I mean, all that to say, it's awesome that I got to meet you, and now here we are. Fast forward 8 months later, 9 months later, and you are on the podcast. So it's awesome, and things have kind of gone full circle. Let's talk a little bit about you as a collector, because I mean, first of all, what people don't know that are just listening, and I guess just hearing, I mean, about your existence, is
Hmm.
that you do card art,
Yes. Yeah.
and you do a very unique form of card art, and I'm gonna let you share what that is, and then we can kind of dive into you as a collector. So, talk to us a little bit about your card art and how that started.
Sure. So yeah, for those who don't know, I hand embroider cards. I've been stitching since I was a little kid. So um that was my hobby. And then when I met Brian, my husband, he said, "Well, I dabble in sports cards," and like I had no idea what that meant, like what this world was. Like you don't know until
Yeah,
you know.
yeah,
And so we he started kind of like slowly including me, like, hey, I'm going to open Prism, we're looking for Zion. And I didn't watch college ball very much, and I didn't collect cards like actively since I was a little kid. Like when I was a kid, my brother and I did like Pokemon. And Vince Carter is kind of like a hometown hero, so like we had some of his cards and stuff. I mean, yeah,
yeah,
he's beloved by all,
yeah,
honestly.
yeah,
But so that's kind of like where I started. And it just kind of, as you get older you trail off and whatever. But Brian, he just kind of always kept up with it. And he was like, "Do you want to open some stuff with me? We're looking for Zion." And I was like, "Sure, I don't know who Zion is, but I like basketball and like whatever." And so we were opening a lot. Like, I was like, "What is this?" And there were stacks and stacks of cards, and I was like, "What do you do with these?" And he's like, "Well, they're just base cards. So, like, I can give them to a shop or something, but, like, basically they're, like, penny cards." And, I was like, "Well, that's a lot of, like," kinda silently to myself, like, "That's a lot of waste." Like,
Yeah.
these are beautiful like, prism cards are beautiful, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah.
And, so I was like, let me see what I can do. And I didn't tell him. I just kind of was like, this might be a huge fail because I've never stitched on anything but fabric. And it actually worked. And I was like, okay, well, let me see like what else I can do. And then I was like, let me post online. And I didn't tell Brian about the account because I was like, let me just see, like, because people might hate this. This might be like sacrilegious. Let me just, like, I'd show him the cards, but I didn't tell him I started an account.
Mhm.
And I started connecting with people and they like really liked it. And then I saw some other people's art. And so it was like a great way to kind of connect my main hobby and Brian's main hobby. And I also, got sucked into the world of cards very easily. So yeah, it's just kind of, I just kind of kept rolling with it because it's just two things I love a lot that I get to connect with. I mean, I get to connect with you and others. Like, it's just been a great way to like just have a conversation about cards that like I am very, because I'm not, skilled in like the years of products and this and that. And like I'm not gonna buy like, the LeBron, logo, triple logo, like I'm not there, but
Yeah.
I my own little pathway that has just been a really nice way for me to connect with other people and learn about the hobby as well. So it's fun. I like it, and other people seem to like it, so that's a bonus.
I mean, that's one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on actually, is because I think that you provide a fresh perspective. I think that so much of this hobby uh ends up being about like dollars and cents and what's the new hottest thing, and who are we chasing, and
Right.
is this bad for the hobby, is this good for the hobby,
Right.
is this,
Yeah.
and it's just like there's a constant just like struggle.
Mhm.
And I mean, a lot of what gets lost is just the authenticity of just straight collecting, and
Mhm.
collecting whatever the fuck you want and
Right.
however you want, you know?
Exactly.
Um, and I mean, that's something that you have gone like one step. It's like you're taking cards that people otherwise really wouldn't care for at all,
Right.
actually. I mean, a lot of those, like, to your, to Brian's point, get donated, or I mean, sometimes they just get thrown out,
Right. Yeah.
and you're actually, putting love and energy and your own creative vision into these, and creating like a whole new piece of art, and something that means something to you, and as you mentioned, also means something to other people. So I mean, I thought that I was like, this is a no-brainer. This is a no-brainer to have you on.
Yeah, it's really it's also interesting too because there was such an explosion with the pandemic and everything like that. Everybody knows that who, is in the hobby. But, um, kind of what I think get, like you said, there are a lot of things that get lost and a lot of nuances. And, yeah, everybody decide, not everybody decides, but like everybody wants to discuss, is this good or is this bad for the hobby? And it's like, sometimes it just is, sometimes this is just what it is, and like it doesn't have to be good or bad, it just kind of is. Feel it out because I feel like we really, as a collective, we're very sensitive to change. And and this is a very old hobby also. I mean, it's, there's a history there. And Midlife Crisis Cards, he just had an article in, I think it's Basketball Cards magazine. I don't know, but he was, he went through like some of the history of like art on cards and stuff. And the history of cards, it goes back beyond a lot of us who collect.
Yeah.
And it's long and storied, and it changes. And but I do understand that like there's so much nostalgia to it that people don't like that change. And one of the big things for me is that women collecting is not really um, I guess it's not pervasive. And I say that not because it's not there, but because it's not considered.
Yeah.
And, not to like get on a high horse and, whatever, but just it's not considered, it's not the default. And again, that's not good or bad, but it
Yeah.
should be considered, I think. And one of the nice things I think about, what I do with my cards is that um, it's made a lot of women feel like, oh, okay, like I can find a space, like I've been to the Dallas card show and like, put some cards out, and there are girlfriends who are following their boyfriends around, and and this is not everyone. I'm not generalizing.
No.
This is like very
Yeah.
specific, but there was one girl that was with her boyfriend, and she was very supportive because this is what he's into and whatever, but she was walking around, and when she saw my cards, she just like her eyes lit up and like wheels started turning, and she's like, oh, this is more than what I was seeing, like through my boyfriend's eyes.
Yeah.
Now I get, because that's the thing. I think a lot of people don't get, like, well, it's pictures of athletes on cardboard. Like, what? It's, Pokemon characters. Like,
Yeah.
people don't get it. And it took a while for me to kind of get like the facets of collecting and, cards and stuff. And I like that this is like a new pathway for people to be like, oh, okay, there are people like me or who think like me, who have interests like me, that exist. Because it is hard sometimes to be, a minority of any sort, in the sports field in general, I think,
For
not
sure.
just cards. So
Yeah.
like, to kind of find an alley that makes you feel like, okay, I always have this space I can default to. I always, sometimes you can't comment in a comment section because then you're automatically negated because, you're a woman or what have you. And you can always go to the DMs and say to your friend, like, did you see that game? Did you see that call? Like, it's opened up a way for me to share with others, and I think others share with me, like in the group experience of sports and sports cards. So
I mean, first of all, I want to say thank you for sharing all of that because I think that there's a lot of people in this hobby, and more specifically men, don't even really understand like how difficult it must be for like a female collector in the space, right? Like truthfully, like I'm not saying like you guys have like you're like, oh, you're oppressed or whatever, right? Like I'm saying like straight up, like I mean, you're telling me that you're scared to comment at times
yeah,
because you're automatically gonna get shot down. And like
right.
that is it's fucked up. Do you know what I mean? Like that and
Yeah.
I mean it is, right? So I want to thank you for sharing that. And I also want to say, like, kudos to you. I mean, one of the things you mentioned at the beginning kind of really resonated with me, and I wanted to refer back to it is that, I mean, you actually were hesitant to post your stuff online, right? Like, and I think that that's interesting too because I think a lot of new collectors feel like that. And
Hmm.
I'm positive that like even more of those new collectors who are female are scared because like I mean I remember my first post back in 2020 even, like, I don't like I was like, "Oh, man, like, what if people think this is a shit card or what if this is a bad buy or whatever,"
Right.
right? Like, it's very hard to be confident in the space
Hmm.
because you're constantly reminded all the things you don't know. And then,
Right.
like,
Yes.
multiply that by the fact that, like, obviously there's, like, this, like, woman bias for some reason, and, like, now all of a sudden you're even less likely to post, right? So the fact that not only that you made your first post, but you continued to post there afterwards is a testament to, I mean, your own strength and your I mean, the fact that you did just kind of go with it, right? Like, and I'm also grateful that there was enough people out there to help support you. And if there's one thing that we can take from this
Yeah.
conversation, uh, you, me, and everyone listening is that like if you see someone start up a new account and just like try to support, you know what I mean? Like, and even like not even just new accounts, but like just support costs $0. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Like
Exactly.
it's not. And to our point earlier, we're like, is this good for the hobby? Is this bad for the hobby? Like, is this like that's where the engagement's at? But it's just so easy to just support someone, even if it's a 50-cent card. I
Right.
mean, the dollar value I just don't think it's really relevant a lot of the times, right? Like those are the ones that we glom onto. But I mean, if someone's posting something, it's for a reason, and especially if they
Yeah.
have like a, like a detailed description of like why this resonates
Yes.
with them. And
Yeah.
oftentimes that's what you'll find, right? You'll find these detailed descriptions of this, like why this card means something to this person. Like we
Mhm.
should be featuring and continuing to talk about like wonderful instances like this. So that's
Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting, and it is a broad space, so like, you can collect how you like, and that's, high value cards are interesting. Like I totally get it. We all, even people who are not interested in cards, love to gawk at the prices and the history and all that. It's interesting.
of course.
But I think when you're in the space, just like you said, like some cards are like 50 cents and they mean something to someone. And I think that's interesting. Like there was somebody who had a side PC and it was, uh, I think he was Filipino. And so he collects like Filipino athletes. And I was like, that, like, and I think there were like more details to it, but I remember reading that and I was like, that's such a great way to collect. So I was like, I love Shaq. I'm from Central Florida. Who doesn't love Shaq
Yeah, of
also? And
course.
so I noticed in his cards, because I just love dollar bin cards, that he sticks his tongue out a lot. So like that's my side PC is just pictures of Shaq with like his tongue and like the varying degrees. Like it's a goofy collection, but
Uh,
it's like it's a hunt. It's
yeah,
interesting to me. It's fun to like share with people. People get interested in like what your little quirks in your collecting are, and then you look for it. Like it's I always think it's interesting when like with Christina from Card Ladder, she is collecting Maxi Kleba and she's looking for that neon green disco card and it's got to be out there somewhere, but like nobody, when you're looking at Luca, who cares about Maxi? Well, Christina does,
yeah.
and now I do, and now many people do, and like I love that connection that you forge with people when you look beyond like, wow, well this card is worth X number of dollars. It's, well, what is it worth to me in like a sentimental value? I think that's interesting.
Yeah, no, I mean I couldn't agree more. Like I found over the course of the last few weeks, I like the hobby has been just angry, and there's like this
Yes.
misplaced anger,
Yeah.
and there's just a lot of people, maybe the values of things are down, and maybe the foundation wasn't as solid as everyone thought it was for some of these companies and some of these business practices and whatever. And I think there's a lot of people who are like charged right now,
Yeah.
and there's been a few people in my comment section saying like this is what ruined the hobby and this is what, and I'm like
My favorite when people are like, "Oh, you ruined the hobby for me, thanks," or what? Not to me, but just
no,
in
no, no,
general.
for
Like,
sure, but
that
I'm just
ruined the
like,
hobby. I love. Yeah, I
I'm
love
like,
it.
I just don't, I think you're being short-sighted, you know? I'm like, the people who are, and even they're like, the boxes are so expensive and that's what ruined the hobby. And I was like, you don't even have to participate in new product. Like
Right,
realistically, like you actually don't need to participate. If it like, I mean, I've gotten to the point where like, I mean, even when I jumped back in 2020, like I realized that I was priced out of wax, right? Like,
right,
and I was like, guess what I'm gonna do? I'm just not gonna rip ultra
right,
modern stuff, right? Like, I know that some people feel like they have like it's my like I deserve to, like, and I'm like, well, I taking a step back and saying like I don't want any part of this unless I want to lose my shirt,
right.
like, and realistically, why do we want to rip? I mean, a lot of people want to rip the ultra modern stuff because there's a huge payday attached to it, right? Like,
Yeah,
and so I'm like, you can't have one without the other. I need everyone to take a step back and just focus on your own shit.
yeah,
Just
yeah.
focus on your own
It's good
collecting.
advice. Yeah.
What is it that you actually want?
Right,
And I'm like, there's no way that a box price in 2023 affects how I view collecting, right?
right,
Like, because at the end of the day, I'm still gonna collect the shit that I want. I mean, a lot of stuff I'm collecting is not from 2023. That's
right,
the stuff I speculate on, and I might dabble here and there, and I'm gonna buy
right,
singles over boxes. But at the
right,
end of the day, even if the single prices are too expensive, I'm like, guess what? They're too expensive. I think that's dumb because I can get this cool card that's cheaper. I
right.
can get this cool card that's cheaper. I can get this cool card for my PC, right? Like, and so I think so much of it has become about money. And as a result of that, there's like a lot of people who might have been in the chase for like those like high value things being ripped out of products, or I don't know, whatever the case may be. They're just upset about something, and they're just like, I'm done because of XYZ. And I'm like, you can't pay me to be done, because
Right. Yeah.
I'll just find a different lane. You know what I
Exactly.
mean? Like I'll just,
Yep.
if I get priced out of something, I'll just find a different lane. I'll
Right.
just be like, you know what? I think it's more financially feasible to buy old jerseys, or I think it's more financially feasible to buy Roy Halladay cards, or like, you know what I mean? Like there's just so many routes you can
Right.
take, to your point with like the Shaq tongue out. Like, I mean, I can't imagine a ton of those cards are over $5, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I think the most I've paid is 5, and, like, I probably could have talked them down, but I was like, "I don't feel like doing
Yeah.
that today."
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. And you're
like,
like, this, it's just,
it well, just, like, to your point, like, sorry not to interrupt, but
no,
just,
no,
like,
no, no. Go for it. We're talking.
you're right, like, that, like, it's like, not to get, like, all philosophical, but, like, I view the hobby for me as, like, a journey, and,
Yeah.
and I know that's really, like, hokey, but, like, I and not to again, not to harp on, like, how hard it is to be a woman, I know, but, like, it there were parts of the hobby I was not enjoying recently, and, so I shifted. Like, that's the thing is, like you said, like, wax is too expensive, that's a bummer, but, like, you can then shift. Like, if you're still interested in it, then you can shift your attention to something else until, something changes back to whatever it is that you decide to pause on. I took a little bit of I haven't posted, I think, on my grid in like months. And I'm on Instagram like here and there, but I was not on it for probably a good month or so. I just wasn't even checking. And it just because it wasn't doing anything for me. And but I was at shows, I was at my local shop. We've been opening Topps Chrome tennis because Brian buys it. And, we like to open and
Yeah. Coco
so we're
Golf.
Coco go I mean, we're obsessed. Love
Yeah.
the here's the gold, there she
Hey.
is.
I mean, I
My
kind of want
my
to talk
lovely
about,
little 8
I
that could
kind of
have been
want
a
to, I
10.
kind of want to talk about that too later, but
Ooh, yeah, that was a bummer. But that and like that was also part of it too, that whole PSA
yeah,
fiasco. Like there were just like a couple of things and I was like, well, I'm not gonna it didn't even cross my mind that I just would not be
just
in the
quit,
hobby. I would not be
just quit.
looking. Yeah, like it just didn't occur to me. I just kind of was like,
Yeah.
okay, Instagram's not working for me right now. I'm not going to go on Instagram. I'm going to do less, YouTube. I'm going to, just kind of like dial it back a little bit and refocus to like the cards in hand versus what content is out there regarding cards. And it's not like I hate it and I swore off like, all that stuff. I needed a break and now I'm coming back to it. And I think that that's a good way for people to enjoy the hobby. Like if I wanted to take a break from doing the art, I could. There's other options, but like, I think you just got to kind of like check your gut sometimes and be like, what's, like follow your bliss, like follow your
Yeah.
hobby bliss.
Yeah.
That's the best way, like I could say to, just enjoy the journey and the community too. Some of the communities might not be serving you like they did. Leave blowout forums if it's getting too toxic. If the comment section on Lameme is like taking a toll on you, then like, don't read the comment section. Just enjoy Lameme's, wild posts. And,
Yeah.
like you just gotta kind of like fine tune it as you go. I couldn't leave if I like you said, I couldn't leave if somebody paid me. There's no number.
Yeah.
I couldn't and I wouldn't.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny we are talking about this because like I've scaled back too, to a certain extent, in like the last 2, 3 weeks. I mean, I've just had stuff going on, and
Right.
much
Yeah,
like you, I'm like, I just don't. I'm like, it just, there's too much of this like negative, like, and again, like, I mean, everyone's allowed to say whatever the hell they want. And I'm not saying
exactly.
like
Yeah.
anti negativity, because at one point or another, I
Right.
was the one pushing for things, and I still do in certain aspects, right? Could this hobby become better? Of course. Are there a lot of things wrong with it? Definitely. But at the end of the day, I'm like, okay, do I want to fight these fights right now?
Right.
Or do I want to like, do I want to go back to the cards?
Right.
right? And how do I get back there? How do I get back to what this is all about? And ultimately, it's all about collecting,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
So ultimately, it's all about like whether it's pieces of paper or like does the game used or non-game used or whatever the hell your
Right.
preference is. Like that's kind of what it's all about. And it's I mean, as you can have engage in that dialogue here and there, but if you're just engaging in the dialogue, it gets very old very quickly.
Yes.
And to your point,
Absolutely.
finding your bliss, I think that's just an important piece of advice for everybody listening. And if someone's feeling lost or misguided or misdirected or whatever the hell adjective you want to use, like you just uh honestly take a step back.
Hmm.
Just go back to your collection. Just figure out. I mean, I had a conversation with someone a few days ago. I mean, on my last episode actually, and they asked me. It was Mr. Minty actually, and he asked me, like, what's your like your grail? Like, what are your grails? Like, if you were gonna put them on your mantle, like, what would they
Right.
be? And it's something that I had thought about literally that day, and I don't. It's not for me. It's not like a goal card, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm a
Right.
set collector. Like as I go, I find new things, and I'm like, I'd rather that thing. You know what I mean? And I'll just like
Exactly.
grab it if I can afford it, or
Right.
like I don't really care too much about the fact that Mickey Mantle is the most expensive card out there, and that therefore I desire one. Same thing with like
Right.
Michael Jordan
Yeah.
rookie, right? Like, oh man, Michael Jordan rookie is the most iconic card ever, and that's why I need one. I'm like, I don't really care too much about that
Yeah.
stuff. I care way more about like cool soccer stickers I've never seen before.
Right.
Um, and so that's like kind of where my head's at when it comes to collecting, and that's okay. And that's one of the reasons why I'm able to, as things go up, as things go down, I'm like, I don't give a fuck about that. I don't give a
Right.
fuck about that. Like,
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. You
and
just check it off.
maybe
You're
I
like,
did care a
nope,
little bit
nope,
about that
nope.
before, and now it's at this price, and now I don't give a shit about it.
Right.
like, like,
Exactly. See, I
you know,
think that's a great way to look at it. Like you just find what suits you. Yeah.
and yeah, I mean, I do want to talk a little bit. So, like, for those people listening right now, you pulled one of the biggest cards out of Topps Chrome Tennis, Coco
Hmm.
Gauff. You pulled
Yeah.
it right after she won her first majors. Actually, right before, right
Right.
before,
Yes. Yeah.
right
Right
before, and it
before it
was
was the
sitting
weekend
at
of.
PSA,
Oh,
right
yeah.
while she was in the tournament.
Yeah. I think we sent it in pretty quickly because we were like we were looking at it and it was just beautiful. Like we couldn't believe it. Brian actually opened the pack and he has apologized multiple times that he's the one who pulled it, but like it was in our household, so that's good. And yeah, I we were really stoked. It was, a big time in her career and, you know, obviously we love Serena and stuff, but like to really be watching Coco in real time, like Serena, I was too little
Of course.
to like, she's just always been there. I feel like with Serena, Coco, we're watching her ascend, and I'm like, it's incredible. And yeah, so we pulled the gold. It's 45 out of 50, and we were super stoked, and sent it to PSA, and it was perfect. Then we got an email that it was a 10, but that in the sealing process it got damaged, and it's now an 8, and that was devastating.
I mean, talk to me about how that feels. Like, I mean,
It's
like when you were like, can we go back to that moment for like a few seconds and like what are you experiencing? What are you like? I mean, and also because you submitted through a third party, right? Like, so it wasn't even
Yes.
them communicating with you directly. So like that must have
Right.
been even more frustrating
Yeah, our local card shop is awesome.
for sure.
Our guy Kyle over there, he's the best. And he, like cuz I think we got the boxes at his shop. And so Brian told him immediately, and we were like, "Well, we want to get it graded." And we don't Brian sends stuff in because, he also sets up at shows and stuff. So he does, a lot of different aspects like business and personal of the
Yeah,
hobby. I don't really send stuff in to be graded because it's just not familiar to me. It's not a priority. I'm totally okay with it just being in like, a one touch mag.
of course.
And
Yeah,
so but we were like, this is a big card. This is a card we're gonna hold on to. And then, of course she won. We were rooting for her and she won, and it's already like on its way to PSA. And so the anticipation of, well, is it a 10? Did we miss something? And And like you said, hearing through a third party and, Kyle having to like, relay the news of like a timetable or whatever. And, so we're like all excited. And then Kyle had to message Brian and be like, "Hey, so I got this email from PSA and it was just, we're just excited to get it back. Like we don't really, know what the grade's gonna be. We're thinking it's a 10, but we'll see. It's that
Yeah.
anticipation everybody has." And yeah, and then we got that email and like not only is like the anticipation then blown, you're just like, well, now what? Because not a lot of Topps Chrome tennis was opened.
Yeah.
There weren't any golds out there. I think there was one at that point, and it
But
was a 10.
there was no tens though, right?
I think there was only one 10, but I think it like came out, or maybe it like came up on eBay, like maybe while we were waiting from PSA. Like there weren't really any out there.
Yeah.
And, also like I know tennis is not like a top five sport.
I mean, but
Um,
still.
but Topps Chrome they're beautiful cards and it was an exciting time and whatever. And yeah, so then we had to like, well, what do we do? And I'm like, you know what, it'll be okay, it'll all work out. And I was just like uncharacteristically like just upset, like just bare bones upset. And I was like, let me sit on it, overnight. Let me, think on like, because I didn't want to just immediately go to Instagram and be like, this sucks. This is,
Yeah.
PSA is the worst. I just wanted to like, think on it. And I woke up the next day and I was like, I still feel terrible and I need to get this out. Like I just have to. And I have, friends who work at PSA and, I messaged them and I was like, "Hey, I don't want to like, you know, bash your company, but like
Yeah.
this happened and this sucks." And so I wanted to be sensitive to that and, you know, many other things. And but I just had to share. I was like, I know I can't be the only one. I know this isn't the biggest card, but like this was like a moment for us and our, hobby story. And to have like this little like, sidebar that, oh, by the way, this beautiful perfect card was a 10, but it's not because of the sealing process. Like that just I know it's not, a Honus Wagner or whatever, but like this card was really important to us. And, and it's a gold. I feel like, true golds in general are like, very beloved by the hobby. So the fact that they didn't take care with the card was just really frustrating. And, PSA, I understand that they're kind of like the big dog right now. And they're a business. I understand they have to operate as a business, but like that's your job is like grading and sealing.
Yeah.
And they dropped the ball and I know I wasn't the only one and a lot of people reached out to me and I have some friends that and like you. I mean, you saw the story and you reached out to me and you're like that sucks. And I have a little bit of reach and there are some people that are just kind of like tough luck, deal with it. And PSA had to admit to us that it was damaged. There are people I'm sure out there who, PSA didn't admit that to. It just kind of happened and, your card got sent back and it had a mark that wasn't there when you sent it off. It just, I know it's a complicated issue and I'm not like, bashing PSA, but like as a personal, anecdote, it was a bummer. It was very frustrating. It was a bummer, but I feel like I learned a lot. I feel like a lot of other people were able to kind of get off their chest their experience. And yeah, that was very long-winded, but yeah.
No, I mean it's a valuable story about like what is a possibility when you send stuff in, right? And
Yeah,
there's really no great solution at the end of the day either, right?
right.
Like you still you leave that situation feeling like you're not whole, like
Right. Yeah.
regardless,
It's
right?
just
Like
a bummer. Yeah.
it's like the equivalent of like someone stealing a card in the mail. Like you might get a
Ah,
refund, but
right.
you still don't feel whole. You know what I mean? Like you're
Yeah,
still
you don't
like
have your card, you don't
that's
have yeah, it's like, yeah, you got your money back, but like it puts a bad taste in your mouth and you don't have what you desired. You fulfilled your side of things and somebody else didn't fulfill theirs and like it's a bummer. And I know there's bigger issues in the world. I know that this is not like, worth shedding tears over, but it it's frustrating. And I cannot imagine, how many people have also felt that frustration. It's disappointing.
Yeah, and it's not like, I mean, there's really nothing you can do differently t like, next time,
Right.
right? There's literally nothing,
Yeah.
like, it just happened to
This is.
I just exactly, exactly. And that's why I guess, I mean, number 1, I wanted you to share that story because I think that it kinda ties into, I mean, sometimes shit just happens in a space and you have to deal with it. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, it's just, it's kinda how it goes,
Right.
and
Yeah.
whether that's right or wrong or, uh, it just is.
Right.
And I mean, also because I wanted people to, I mean, hear you out because, like you said, there was a lot of people that are like, "Oh, tough luck," but
Yeah.
like, I mean, it blows, and
Exactly. Yeah.
it,
It just bottom line, it
right?
blows.
Like, it just
Yeah.
blows. So talk to me about, you know, you said that one of the ways that you've kind of transitioned into card art is through Brian and his love for collecting, and that you previously collected Pokemon cards. What else did you collect growing up?
Um, I not card related.
I mean, I'm on a kick where I'm asking people outright, like, just what did you collect growing up?
Yeah, you kind of like memory unlocked. I collected McDonald's Happy Meal toys, and like I don't think I even realized when I was a kid it was a collection. Like I just had like a couple of shelves in my closet that I would just put my toys in. Um,
Were they in the bag?
what, what? I'm
Like,
sorry.
did you keep them in the bags or did you open them?
No, no, no. Well, some of them maybe, probably like Beanie Babies or something, but like no, they were just like on the shelf, and they're probably in like a plastic tub somewhere now. Like
Yeah.
but yeah, I didn't even like it's so funny that you said because I'm like, "Wow, yeah, I did collect." But
Everyone's collected throughout their whole life,
exactly.
and I'm determined to unlock those memories.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, yeah, when you really sit, because like some people are like, "Oh, you're an adult collecting cards," and like, not to me, but I know
Yeah,
other
yeah, yeah.
people have heard that, and it's like, well, yeah, you didn't collect something ever, like
Everyone.
Pogs. I mean, we were Pog kids. My brother and I were constantly every weekend, like battling it out with neighborhood kids. Had a sick Pog collection, like, yeah,
I love that. When I spoke to Kayla collects, we kind of like we're on the same topic of conversation. I was like, "What else did you collect?" And she's like, "Rubber duckies." She's like, "I didn't even realize." Like, I was like,
that's so
that,
sweet.
yeah. And she's just like, everywhere we went, like, I just got like a rubber ducky from there, and I was like, "That's really cool."
That's
So I'm like,
awesome.
yeah, everyone, and I've had so many people tell me that they collected like hats or they collected,
Right,
I mean, sock. Like, you find that, and I don't know if this is just like everybody, or just like, I mean, obviously very biased, the demographic that I speak to in terms of like collectors, right? Like, I talk to collectors.
right,
So everyone that I've spoken to has collected something
right,
early on that is like kind of unconventional and then somehow has transitioned into like cardboard of some kind.
right,
But I'd be curious to see if like everyday people also collected something growing up,
right.
and kind of where that comes from.
No, I don't think I'm like trying to think like I don't think my parents really collected. I mean, if they did, they didn't really talk about it, but and didn't care. I think that's really interesting too. Like people that collect stuff in the childhood and then like carry it into adulthood. Like I love when Brian like sees something, like a card or a product wax or something, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I opened that when I was like 13, and it was $15 a box, and now it's like 1,500 or I like
Yeah.
I like that history. I like to see what people like that knowledge that they have that's just like deep in their brain. It will never leave them.
Yeah, it's just permanently embedded in there. It's it's I love it. Lauren, I want you to tell everyone where they can find your stuff. First of all, is your stuff for sale?
Yes, yeah. I
Okay.
I mean, I'm kind of nonchalant about it
Okay.
because I would do it whether people liked it or not,
Mhm.
honestly. But yeah, if you DM me if you see something, that's fine. I have an Etsy shop that I am bad about updating, but it's there. Um, so yeah, I do sell it. I'll show you real quick. I just
Yeah,
set them out because I just wanted to have them ready to show. I'll show this that I actually just recently got. Sorry, the sun is shining,
that's
but
okay.
that's
Awesome.
Kareem. He
Nice.
signed it. I stitched it. 10 auto, recently sealed by Beckett, not damaged. Um, And then, this one I don't think anybody's seen this yet, but it's,
Wow.
a LeBron this is my first LeBron because LeBron is very hard to find. So yeah, that's a
That,
little LeBron stitch.
that's
Um,
gorgeous.
so yeah, but and I don't really do commissions because I kinda just wanna stitch what I like.
Yeah.
I, try to keep a list. So I know like what, certain collectors what they like and what they don't. And when I can, get around to it, I try to just stitch like I stitched Christina Maxi Kleba to fill the gap in her, her set collection.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like to make them, but I kind of just do them at my own pace. So yeah.
Love that. Where can people contact you? Maybe for advice on how to get started collecting, or other females to jump into the space. Maybe you can help provide some support in some way, shape, or form. How can people reach out to you if they want to learn card art, or they want to kind of get to know your process when it comes to creating?
Yeah.
Where can they contact you, and how can they consume more of your content?
More of me. My handle is Lauren Goes Here on Instagram. That's mostly where I'm at. I think my email's on there too. So if you want to email me, that's cool. But I have my Instagram. That's my main thing. And I'll talk to you about anything. I'm an Orlando Magic fan. There's not many of us out there, but we're having a big season so far, and so I'm spending a lot of time thinking and talking about that. If Yeah, if you want to talk to me about Carter, I'm always, if anybody's interested, because people are like, I could never do that. Um, I think that stitching is fun and pretty easy, and I would love to talk to people about how I do it so that if they want to try, they can. I will just say real quick, I don't want
Go
to
for it. No, no,
take too much time, but
no, no, no.
I have some of my friends' card art. This is Jay, local hits. He is incredible.
Awesome.
I don't know. I'm sorry,
Yeah,
this
yeah.
side.
No, we see it.
But he uses a lot of like postcards and stuff, and his cards are like stories. Like they're incredible. I love them. And this is from Shark Bait. He has that jersey auto cut there, and I love it. Like it's really great to like talk to people. And these people are great too. So I'm not just dropping names to drop names. They're also incredible people to check out and to talk
Yeah.
to. And then Kev's Cards, who is just killing
Cool.
it right now. He got
Yes.
me a penny and a shack. These were Christmas presents last year. And then third Dan art. Obviously, shack is my go-to.
Of
So
course.
sorry. Um, so yeah, but yeah, I'm always, oh, and I have a custom Coco. I'll show you this real quick.
Show me, show
Custom
me.
Coco.
Nice.
She's wonderful. That was also Shark Bait custom. So, um, yeah, but I'm always happy to chat. Sometimes I'm a little late getting back to you, but I'm always around. And yeah, I really appreciate you chatting with me today, Brendan. This is
I
really awesome.
I appreciate you jumping on. I appreciate everyone taking the time to listen. Please go follow Lauren Goes Here. Check out her art, and let's continue to make this space great for everybody. Team, I hope you enjoyed this week's episode of the Cardboard Coach featuring Lauren Goes Here. Have yourselves a wonderful rest of the day. Coach Co and Lauren are out of here. Peace.